He told me I was lucky to have him, so I showed him what losing me looks like. He looked me dead in the eye, smiled, and said, "You're lucky I stuck around. Most guys wouldn't." We were sitting across from each other at dinner. My birthday dinner. I had just told him I was thinking of going back to school. And that was his response. Not, "That's amazing." Not, "You'd be great at that." But, "You should probably just be happy you have me." I didn't say anything. Just folded my napkin. Smiled? And said, "You're right. I am lucky." But in my head, I was already gone. Already closing the door. Already watching the relationship unravel in slow motion from the inside out. Because that wasn't the first time he said something like that. It was just the last time he'd say it to me. When the waiter brought out the cake, he didn't even look up. Scrolled through his phone. Smirked at something on Instagram. I looked around the restaurant and thought, is this what I've been calling love? A man who made me feel like a project he was proud of. Not a partner. A man who reminded me constantly that I should be grateful to be chosen. Not honored. Not loved. Just tolerated. I had stayed quiet for so long. Told myself he didn't mean it that way. That I was sensitive. That I did come with baggage. But that night? It all clicked. He didn't love me. He loved the version of me who didn't realize her worth yet. And I had outgrown that version. So I took a bite of cake. Sipped my wine. And said, "This might be the best birthday I've had in years." He smiled. And I smiled too. Because the difference was, he thought I was talking about him. But I was talking about me. About the woman who finally woke up mid-toast and realized she was never lucky to be loved by a man who thought he was doing her a favor. She was lucky to remember who she was. And she was already gone. He didn't start off cruel. He started off like a savior. "You've been through so much," he said. "You need someone who knows how to take care of you." And I believed him. I was still healing. Still unsure. Still trying to piece together who I was outside of what I'd survived. And he made me feel safe. Safe to share. Safe to relax. Safe to not always be the strong one. At first, it felt like comfort. He remembered my coffee order. Checked in if I was quiet. Held my hand when I talked about my past. But slowly, the comfort turned into critique. "You really need to start eating better. You're lucky I don't mind curves. You know I don't care about degrees, but most guys wouldn't stick around if their girl didn't have a plan. I'm just trying to help you level up. You'd still be stuck in that survival mindset if I hadn't stepped in." I told myself he was trying to help. That I was being too sensitive. That maybe this was just what growth felt like, uncomfortable but necessary. I started adjusting. Dress this way. Say less. Smile more. I didn't post as much. Didn't go out with friends. Didn't push back when he suggested I skip the job interview I was excited about. "You don't need all that stress," he said. "I've got us." But got us meant control. It meant every decision came with a reminder of how lucky I was to be with him. How most men wouldn't be this patient. And I started to believe it. I looked in the mirror and saw someone who was always almost enough. Almost confident. Almost independent. Almost desirable. And the worst part? He made me think I owed him for sticking around. For loving me when I was still figuring it out. But the truth? I wasn't broken. I was just being held under a magnifying glass by a man who needed to feel big next to someone he thought was small. And the only thing I ever needed to figure out was how long I'd let him call his control my blessing. Not much longer. He didn't tell me not to grow. He told me how to grow, his way. "Babe, why don't you apply for something easier? You'd probably feel less overwhelmed if you stopped trying to do so much. Maybe this isn't your season for ambition. Maybe it's your season to rest." On the surface, it sounded supportive. Grounding. Thoughtful. But underneath? It was erosion. I told him I wanted to start a side business. He said, That's cute. But we're doing fine without the pressure. I got invited to speak at a women's panel. He said, "Isn't that more for people who've actually made it?" I told him I wanted to enroll in a certification course. He said, "Just make sure you're not doing it to prove something." I started shrinking before I even realized it. I turned down opportunities I used to pray for. Took breaks from things I loved. Spent more time asking for permission than taking initiative. Because anytime I tried to level up, he called it stress. Or ego. Or not worth it. But when he succeeded? It was purpose. Destiny. Grind culture. I clapped for him even when I was drowning. He yawned at me even when I was glowing. The most dangerous men don't tell you to fail. They just convince you to play small in the name of balance. He once said, "I love how humble you are. Other women try too hard to be seen." And I remember thinking, why does he only praise the version of me that disappears? I tried one last time. Applied for a mentorship program I was excited about. I told him. His reaction? "That's great, I guess just don't forget where you came from." That stuck with me. Because I hadn't forgotten. I remembered the girl who was terrified to speak up. The woman who begged to be seen and accepted. And I realized. He didn't help me grow. He just kept planting doubt in every root I tried to lay down. And when it finally clicked, that he was cheering for a version of me that never scared him, I knew it was time to become someone who did. It started with a pause. Not an argument. Not a breakdown. Just a moment at breakfast. He said, "I don't know what you'd do without me." And I didn't laugh this time. I didn't tease him back. I just blinked. Took a sip of coffee. And thought, "You're about to find out." That was the day something shifted. I didn't pack a bag. I packed a plan. I started with a list, bank accounts to update. Files to download. Passwords to change. I backed up everything I'd built on my own, my writing. My business ideas. My goals I'd shelved to make him feel secure. I made a calendar. Gave myself 30 days. Not to leave. To reclaim. I reconnected with old mentors. Signed up for the certification anyway. He noticed I was busier. "You're not as present as you used to be." I smiled. "I'm growing." He frowned. And that was the moment I knew, he didn't love me growing. He loved me dependent. I updated my resume. Took interviews on my lunch break. Practiced saying no out loud in front of the mirror. It felt awkward at first. Then it felt like armor. I stopped telling him every little detail. I stopped asking for input. I just started moving. Quietly. Intentionally. I started tracking how often I downplayed myself to keep things smooth. How often I smiled through subtle jabs. How often I made myself small because I didn't want him to feel insecure. The data was humiliating. But it was also clarifying. I wasn't overreacting. I was underliving. I gave myself permission to exist without his approval. And every time he tried to pull me back down, with a joke, with a "just trying to help," with a reminder of how lucky I was, I nodded. Smiled? And kept building. Because soon, the only one who'd be lucky was me, for finally walking away. He didn't notice right away. That's the part that still gets me. I had one foot out the door for weeks. And he thought everything was great. I laughed at his jokes. Cooked dinner like usual. Kissed him goodnight. But inside? I was done. I had already signed a lease. Already paid the deposit. Already made a packing checklist broken down by drawer. I left nothing to chance. Because this wasn't a breakup. This was an exit. I planned it for a Tuesday morning. He had a work call scheduled. I timed it down to the minute. I left while he was pacing in the other room, talking numbers. Grabbed my bag. My charger. My keys. And walked out. He texted 20 minutes later, "Did you forget something?" I didn't answer. An hour later, "Where'd you go?" 3 hours later, "What the hell is going on?" By the time he called, I was in my new place. On the floor. Eating takeout from the container. Smiling. Because I had never felt more free. When I didn't respond, he sent the text I knew was coming, "After everything I've done for you." That line. The classic guilt trip. Everything I've done for you. Like love was a receipt he expected to be reimbursed for. But what he never understood was that love doesn't come with a scoreboard. Respect doesn't come with strings. And I didn't owe him my silence just because he stuck around long enough to remind me I was lucky. I blocked his number. Told the leasing office to remove my name from the old unit. Changed my mailing address. And never turned back. No dramatic goodbye. No screaming match. No breakdown in the hallway. Just clean. Complete. Quiet. And when he realized I wasn't bluffing, that I wasn't coming back, that I didn't even miss him, that's when it finally hit him. I wasn't lucky to have him. He was lucky to have me. And now? He never would again. My new apartment wasn't fancy. No crown molding. No fancy backsplash. Just clean walls. Quiet floors. And no one walking around pretending I should be grateful for crumbs. I bought a new mug that said, "Main Character Energy." Cheesy? Maybe. But every morning, I drank from it like a ritual. A reminder that I didn't have to shrink to be loved. I started small. Signed up for a weekend workshop. Wrote down goals I'd stopped admitting out loud. I changed the lock on my standards. And gave the key only to people who didn't flinch when I used my full voice. I stopped over-explaining. Stopped apologizing. I let the quiet be my proof. And the peace? It was loud. I started posting again. Not for attention. For freedom. I posted quotes like, "The prize doesn't chase. She chooses." And some men only feel big when they make you feel small, until you outgrow the box they built for you. The DMs started rolling in. "Girl. Did something happen? You're glowing." And I was. Not because I had it all figured out. But because I wasn't begging anyone to believe in me anymore. I believed in myself. I walked differently. Talked slower. Didn't rush to fill silences. I let my absence speak in rooms where I used to beg for presence. I built my savings back. Pitched my business idea. Booked a solo trip just to prove to myself that I could. He texted once from a random number. Just said, "Hope you're good." I read it. Deleted it. Not because I hated him. But because I finally loved me. And that version of me? She didn't respond to ghosts. She didn't shrink when the past knocked. She just kept building the life she once thought she wasn't allowed to want. And baby, she built it with both hands. I don't hate him. I just don't miss the version of me that needed him. The version who called her strength too much. The one who mistook backhanded compliments for guidance. The one who clung to crumbs and called it consistency. I left that girl behind. And I don't visit her anymore. Because I'm not her anymore. I stopped calling it heartbreak. I started calling it a redirection. Because he didn't break me. He revealed me. Every dig? Every dismissal. It chipped away at the woman who thought she had to be soft to be lovable. And underneath was someone so powerful, she scared him. He doesn't know where I live now. Doesn't know who I'm dating. Doesn't know how loud I laugh when no one's trying to edit me. And he never will. Because I don't give people access just because they once knew my favorite color. I don't hand out second chances to men who call my voice a volume problem. I don't rebuild bridges I had to light on fire just to find the exit. He told me I was lucky to have him. And for a while, I believed it. Until I realized. He didn't see me. He saw an opportunity. A woman at a crossroads. Unsure. Unsteady. Ripe for molding. But I wasn't clay. I was a match. And when I finally struck against his arrogance, I burned every illusion down. These days, when someone says, "You're lucky to have me," I smile. And think, actually. You'd be lucky if I even returned your text. I don't settle anymore. I don't lower the volume on my dreams just to soothe someone else's insecurities. I don't argue with people who think I should be grateful just to be chosen. Because I'm not something you get. I'm someone you have to rise to meet. So if you've ever been told you were lucky to be loved by someone who made you feel small, here's your reminder: they didn't choose you. They selected you. Like a discount they thought they could keep returning. But you are full price. No refunds. And no regrets.
Thanks so much for watching. If you love a good revenge story, or if you've ever dreamed of getting the last word without saying much at all, you're in the right place. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new savage ending. Because around here, karma always hits different.